Matt, thank you so much for being on the show. As the first man ever interviewed, I really appreciate you being willing to come on. This is going to be fun. Most pig lovers are women, so
Yeah,
it'll be
no,
nice to have
thank
a
you for
different
having me.
perspective. Sorry about that.
Yep. No, I'm glad to be here. Glad to be representing the male pig owners of the world.
There you
So,
go. There you go. Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us, have you always been a pig lover? Is this something new?
yep. So I grew up in Minnesota, just for background. Now I'm out in Arizona. This is where I got Lido, is in Arizona. But yeah, I ever since I was a little kid, just I don't know what it was. There, you know how when you're growing up, everybody's got like their favorite animal. That's like something that they like teach you in elementary school. Like, oh, pick your favorite animal. So mine was always a pig. And I wouldn't say I was like obsessed, but like I had, like a shelf at home in my room that I would just collect stuffed animal pigs, like little piggy banks, just anything pig. And then that kind of like caught on. And, pretty soon it turned into like every Christmas present or gift from like a family member is like pig related. And
Yes,
yeah,
I
so I
can
just became,
relate to that.
right. Like my
Yeah.
first email address has like piglets in it, and yeah. So I just kind of became the pig guy. So yeah, I've always loved pigs. I always like thought I was gonna have a pet pig one day. It was just yeah. I never actually knew it was gonna happen, but I wanted it to, it's like kind
Hmm.
of my dream. So
Yes, so very cool. That's very cool. So before you decided to get one, then did you, like, some people pour into the research, they want to learn everything, and some people jump right in. Which person were you?
I was definitely the jump right in person. I made an emotional decision and not a, logical one probably at
Yeah.
the time. Because yeah, I think I was like whatever it would have been 21, 22 at the time.
Mm.
And I knew that I always wanted a pig, but I think one day I stumbled upon it was a Craigslist ad, right?
Hmm.
And I saw that they were selling pigs and it was like $100. And I was like, oh wow,
Yeah.
that could be me. I could go get this pig and that could just be my thing now as I have a pig. Definitely did not do a lot of research. I looked into a little bit. Mostly I asked the questions, I asked the actual breeder the questions. And looking back now, I realized like how vague they were. And, they said he would never get bigger than 75 pounds.
Hmm.
And they said, he just wouldn't get that big. Classic,
Yep.
gave me the
Yep.
spiel. Um, and yeah, so I was just kind of like, all right, well, if they're thinking that I'm able to come get it and, it's not going to be a problem for me, I'm going to go get it. So definitely probably should have done more research.
Everybody says that. And to be honest,
Yeah.
there is no amount of research that is enough. So there's
Right.
always something you're not going to know. There's always something that you're going to learn just through experience. And so, I mean, you tried, you did ask the breeder, right?
Right. A little
I
bit.
mean,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
so it would just be nice if, there were more that were more upfront. Um, so then you decided to go pick this little guy up. And what was bringing him home like?
Yeah, that was a very interesting time. I remember I went and picked him up just some house somewhere in like, northern Phoenix and I went there and literally they had him Lido was like in the garage. They had brought him down from wherever they were breeding him and he
Hmm.
was just in the garage like in the back corner and they gave me a little bag of mac and cheese and we're like, "Here you go. You can, feed him this little mac and cheese and hang out with him for a little bit and decide if you want to do it." So went did that, he loved it, of course. Loved the
Wait a
mac and
second. Wait a
cheese.
second. Real mac and cheese?
Yeah, that's what
That
they
is a
gave me. It was like
first.
in a bag. Like they just had a little Ziploc bag of it. They're like, "Yeah, just give him some of this." And I was like,
Wow.
"Okay." And so did that. And then yeah, I remember like the first thing I noticed, which maybe you've seen in the Instagram videos or not, but Lido has blue eyes.
Yes.
So yeah, so that was like the first thing I was like, "Oh, like does he have blue eyes?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah." So I, just immediately was like, "Oh man, this is the pig for me for sure."
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
loaded him up, put him in my truck, and yeah, I just remember like driving home with them and just being like so excited, and just like couldn't believe I had just actually bought a pig and like this was gonna be my life now. I brought him to like a buddy's, he was working at like a car dealership, pulled up there, and like, hey man, check it out, and I like had him in a little box. And of course then he was 9 weeks old, so I could literally just pick him up
Yeah.
and so yeah, it was great. And yeah, everything after that, of course, was an adjustment. Actually bringing him home, starting to learn like, oh, okay, we're in it now.
Yeah.
He's trying to learn all the habits and what they do, and got to feed him all the time. So yeah,
Yeah. Yes. Was he a had he been handled at all, like socialized at all?
seeing that, I don't even know. I know that he did have. They mentioned that he had like a brother and sister. But yeah, they didn't really give me much background on. And again, I didn't know much at the time, so
Right.
I didn't really know how it worked. I didn't know what should have been done with pigs.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, they were kind of just like, I mean, again, they were selling for $100.
Right.
So
Right.
like looking back, like how much did they really care, right? Like if
Right.
yeah, they
Yeah.
didn't vet me at all, too. That's and I, luckily, I mean, I stuck it out and everything, but they did not vet me at all, which, they probably should have. Probably should
Yeah.
have made sure, especially I was like 21, 22 at the time. Like, you know,
Yeah.
maybe not the best guy to be getting, a pig, but it worked out. So,
It did. It did work out. And I'm gonna say that like the blue eyes, I'd have fallen for that too. Like not even a
right.
second question. The blue eyes are gorgeous. I don't have any pigs with blue eyes. I never had. And when I see them, I do feel a little twinge of like jealousy. They're just so pretty.
Yeah, see, and I didn't know, is that like not, I guess at the time I didn't realize. I thought like, oh, pigs have different colored eyes just like humans, but
Yeah.
it must not be very common, right, to have blue eyes.
It's not super common, no.
Right.
So most pigs have like brown eyes. So yeah, I mean, it's a really, really cool thing to have a pig with blue, kind of like a dog, Um,
Yeah, I
a,
suppose. Yep.
a dog with blue eyes is just, it's so striking. And I do let one day I will have a pig with blue eyes.
Yep.
But so the fact that, so okay, so I'm going to tell you how you'll know if he was socialized or not. Could you
Yeah.
hold him? Could you touch him? Or did he kind of scream and run from you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. If I picked him up, he was,
Yeah.
just that shriek of death, where
Yeah.
it's like, oh my gosh, like you're worried the neighbors are going to be scared. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
blows your
you're saying.
eardrum. You're like, oh,
Oh yeah.
so
Yep.
loud.
So yeah. So that means he probably wasn't social then, or wasn't socialized.
Right. Yeah. And he may have been a little bit, some are more shy than others. They have more of a shy personality, but normally like even a shy piglet, if it squeals when you pick it up, when you hold it close and kind of scratch its side, it'll kind of calm down. But an unsocialized piglet is oh, it is such a it's a nightmare. It's just an absolute nightmare.
Right.
So
Yeah, and I think that's
sorry.
kind of what I experienced. I think I experienced that a little bit.
Okay.
The nightmarish
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. Like right when I got home, it was like, oh wow, okay,
Yeah.
this is crazy. So,
Yeah. And like, did he litter box train well?
yeah, he did okay. I remember, yeah, that's what I first did was the litter box training. Yeah, he did okay. Not too bad.
Mhm.
He, quickly as he started kind of getting bigger, he
Yeah.
kind of outgrew the litter box thing, and it's like, he would get in the litter box, but he'd like go over the edge of it, and it'd be like,
Yeah.
okay, well,
Yeah.
you tried, buddy.
Yeah.
Like I appreciate the effort, but
Yeah.
yeah.
That is very common. You have to like be strategic about what kind of litter box you do use for them because a kitty litter box is not going to last very long. So yeah, they outgrow it fast, but it sounds like it was not easy when you brought him home, but it sounds like it was okay. Like it wasn't too traumatic, it wasn't too horrible.
No, no, and of course, at that age, like when you get them out, like in the middle of like a floor, and they get the zoomies,
Ugh,
and they're running around, and then
so
you're just totally, all the shrieking, all that just fades. You're like,
Yeah.
you don't even care. Like all the difficult parts don't seem difficult when you're like hanging out with your pig.
100%. Yes. All they have to do is look at you and you're like, oh my gosh, I love you so much. You're so cute.
Right. And when they start like kind of like emulating like their like little pieces of their personality, and you start seeing like, oh,
Oh
this
yeah.
pig is like, you're right when they look at you, and you can tell it's like they're looking you in your eyes and like thinking about you. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
that right there is what just makes it like so worth it.
And then the bond that you're able to build with them and how you're able to earn their trust. And I mean, there's something there that is, I don't know what else to call it, but like fulfilling. Like it just feels so good. It's not easy to earn that trust. It's not easy to build a bond. So when you do, it just feels so good to have this pig that loves you and will let you scratch it and will let you pick it up and take it places and walk on a leash. All of these things, they're hard for a pig. So when they can do that with you, it just feels so good.
Well, right. And you really notice it when you see like when other people try to interact with Lido, of
Mm,
course, like especially when we're like inside, like I live in an apartment, and
mm,
when you're inside, like, he is very territorial,
yeah,
and like he just won't let people touch him for the most part. I mean, if you're
right.
hanging around long enough, he'll warm up to it. But yeah, so the fact that I can, pretty much go up there and grab him right under the chin and look him in the
Yeah,
face, and he just lets me do it. It's definitely
yeah,
fulfilling.
yeah. So tell us about your pig. Tell us, you said his name a couple times, but tell us like what kind of personality he has.
Yeah, so Lido he's definitely it's tough. He's again at first glance when people first meet him, pigs are super territorial, right? At least that's what I've come to find, or Lido
Yes.
is.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a lot of times when people first meet him, it's at our place here, and so when they come in and meet him, he's not the most social, and he's always on the defensive. When you first meet him, he's like, "Who are you? Like, what are you doing here?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, stay away from my stuff." Um, but then, yeah, as you like hang out with him more, he'll warm up to people, and like me, of course, the things that are the best about Lido is the stuff that happens when nobody's around, right? Like nobody witnesses it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody, and of course, I'm never like filming it. This is stuff that happens when, like, I can only tell you about it because he'll only do it when it's just me and him.
Right.
Yeah, super cuddly. He'll get the zoomies, play with his blankets, run around the house. Yeah, it's totally different pig when there's not people around.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something that like it is kind of saddening because I'm like, oh man, like I wish people could see like how amazing he is. Like, because everybody has this impression of him that he's kind of a jerk.
Mm.
That's like the everybody when they first
Yeah.
meet Lido, they're like, man, he's big, he's not very nice. Like, and I'm like, ah, no, it's just, you're in his territory. So yeah, so I guess in some people's eyes, his personality is not very nice, but to me, it's like, again, like we were talking about with that building the trust with him.
Mm-hmm.
I can be sitting on the floor and he'll walk right up and bury his head in my arms and then, try to plop his body in my lap. And it's like, man, like I wish people were here right now to like
Right.
see that he does this, so they believe that he is a nice pig. So
Mm-hmm. That's so
it's
true.
tough love. Yeah.
That's
Yep.
so true. And I think that most people, when they have interaction with a pig, it is that like if it's not your pig, it's hard to really see what a cool relationship you can have. But that's
Right.
where like Instagram and TikTok have changed the world of what a pig is or how people see pigs because we're able to see them with nobody else around. We're able to see them, all the cool things that they do with their family and their owners. It's just like you said, like you can't go to someone's house who has a pig and get to experience that. So social media is really cool for that fact.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. And and well, it's kind of interesting too, because like in some of my videos, like you'll see like, even though I know like Lido, he'll do the little air bites, like the
yeah.
kind of swipes that they call it, and
Okay,
like to
yeah.
me, he could swipe at me and like I'm unfazed. Like I don't flinch. I don't it doesn't bother me. the only time I'll flinch is if I have a guitar in my hand, and I mostly just don't want him to like put a dent in the guitar because he will, and that's so yeah. So sometimes in my videos, you'll actually see Lido like if I'm sitting there playing guitar and he's like coming up, looking at me, like seeing what's going on, and he'll throw a swipe in there and like hit the guitar, and some people think that's like like why is he so mad? Like he's angry at you and stuff like that. But I mean, at least from my experience, that is like his way of like being playful with me because he'll
Mm,
do that and then he'll like rub his head up against my leg and then he'll like lay down next to me,
mhm,
so
mhm.
I
Maybe
don't think it looks way worse, but
maybe he's just trying to like play the guitar. Like he wants to get in on that. I don't know. I'll have to watch some of your
yeah,
videos and see if I can see him do that. That's usually it is like a bossy thing, like get out of here, or like a
it could
bossy.
be. And again, that goes back to the territory thing, right? Because a lot of times I'll film my videos like right near his little bed area. And
Mm,
how things are about their bed areas. It's like, I
yes.
don't care who you are, even if you're my dad, like this
Yes.
is my area, dude.
Yep.
So a lot of times, so and again, that's when that happens to me, like it doesn't phase me because I'm like, I know, like I'm in
Right.
your area. Like, I
Right.
get it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is one reason why you're so successful with him, because when a pig swipes at you, it's kind of scary, right? I mean, it's a little scary, especially if company comes over and your pig charges them or swipes at them, or would it like snap, like they just like take their mouth and snap.
Right.
That's scary. So most people are gonna run away. And that is what the pig is trying to do. They're trying to intimidate you. They're bullies. They want you to leave them alone. And so if you do that, they're like, oh, okay. Well, every time I do this, then these people are going to run away. So I just have to do that all the time and I get my way. But you're not giving him his way. And so that's a really good thing. You're the boss. And that's important when you have a pig.
Right. And whenever people come over, that's like a class, like the whole like charging thing. He's definitely like charged at somebody before, and it's so funny because like from my perspective, I'm like, trust me, like he ain't gonna do nothing. Like he's gonna
Yeah.
charge you, he's gonna swipe at you. He ain't gonna. The second you show any ounce of like coming
Yeah.
back at him, he's gone. He's
Yeah.
leaving the room. He's out of there. Like he
Yep.
he will
Their
not put up a
show.
fight.
It's all for show. Like
It is.
they're
I
just
tell people
trying
that, but
everything they can.
it does. It scares people, and that's like they'll even swipe it at him. And I tell them, I'm like, just don't do anything. Just pretend like he didn't, and just
Yes.
keep pursuing it. And obviously, if you're trying to touch his face and he's swiping at you, like, okay,
Right.
maybe don't touch his face. But
Right.
like, yeah, some people they just immediately he swipes at them, and then they're like, oh, your pig doesn't like me. My
Yeah.
mom in particular is very guilty of this. She wants to be able to go up and pet his face and touch his snout and do all
Yep.
that stuff. And he'll of course swipe at her,
Right.
and like, oh, he doesn't like me, so
Yeah.
which probably not the case.
Yeah. And everybody just assumes that a pig is like a dog. A dog, like most dogs, they see you, they love you. They love you. Touch me, pet me. I love you. Pigs are not like that. Like they have to warm up to you. They have to earn you have to earn their trust. Like they're nothing like a dog.
Right. Yep. No, they're definitely yeah, that's I always tell people when I mean it's more kind of like a cat in my experience at least.
Yes.
I've met some cats that are really friendly, but the classic case of like you go to a friend's house, and they just have
Hmm.
that cat that's
Yes.
like could not care less what you were doing. They're
Hmm.
doing their own thing, and
Hmm.
that's literally how Lido is. It's kind of like some people come over and he's like, as long as you're not messing with me, like I want to do my own thing. So
Hmm.
of course everybody wants to mess with them. They want to
Oh,
go
of
pet them.
course. Of
You do
course.
it. Yeah.
Yes. That that is a great illustration of a cat, because I mean, my mom has a cat, or she used to. No, I don't think she does anymore, but I forgot for years she even had a cat, because anytime we would go over there, we would never see it. And
Right.
so like a pig, he's okay. And it is funny because sometimes I have people who are, I do consultations with people and they're like, my pig hates company. I don't understand. I just want my pig to love my company. And I'm like, that is never going to happen. So just if it stresses your pig out, just put him away, put him in their room, put him in their crate, whatever, just put him somewhere. And they're like, oh, I could never do that. I'm like, what do you want from me? Your pig
Right.
is uncomfortable. They just want to be away. So just let them be away. Let them have a cool snack. They are not meant for everybody. They have
Right.
to kind of, because they have that territorialness and that herd mentality, they look at strangers coming over very similar to like if a stranger walked in your door and you were like, whoa, what do you want? Why are you here? I
Right.
don't know you. Can I trust you? I'm not sure. Like you'd really have to warm up to me in order for me to like be comfortable and say, please sit on my couch. Let's have some coffee. So like that's how a pig feels. Someone's walking in their home they don't know. And we as people, we
Right.
just need to understand that. And we just need to like not stress them out if possible. But now there are things you can do about that, but it's not easy. Like you said, like your company has to be willing to kind of work with them a little bit so that they will like them. But it is, and it takes a lot. It really does. So sometimes it's just better to put them away. But also, too, we remember like this is the pig's house. This is
Right.
where they live. So if company doesn't like it, sometimes they might just not be able to come over.
Yeah, and that's so like, cause like pigs are prey animals, right? I mean, they're
Mhm,
something that's typically hunted in the wild, not the
mhm.
hunters. I don't know about the wild boars. The wild boars seem like they hunt, but at least a Vietnamese potbelly, which I'm 90% sure that's what Lido is a Vietnamese potbelly. Um, that's another thing that, going into it when I first got him, they had no idea. Nobody told me what kind of pig he
Right.
was, anything. Also would be a good thing to know before you get your pig, so you can, know how big it's gonna get, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're prey animals, and that's what I always tell people. I'm like, it's not like a dog, a dog in the wild is a predator,
Mhm,
right? That's why they're so upfront and like they'll be your best friend and
mhm,
jumping around and super playful with company because they're attack animals. Like that's
mhm.
what they do. Where a pig, yeah, it's always, that's why they always are backing themselves into corners, right? They
Mhm.
always have everything guarded,
Yep.
so you're right. And that's usually what happens when people come over is he'll eventually either want to be outside or he'll come into his room and be in his bed. And that's where he wants to be. He doesn't want to be like
Right.
hanging out with everybody,
Right.
so
Right. And it's hard for people because people just want to show off their pig, you know?
right.
But and it is a little annoying. Sometimes I wonder, if pigs could just be a little bit nicer,
Yeah.
maybe
Well, and you
more
know what I
people.
have found? Right. Yeah. And what I have found is like if the best way for people to meet Lido is outside of our house.
Yes.
Like when I take him, like put him on his leash or whatever, and we go outside of the apartment and we're out like in the front courtyard or just anywhere
Mhm.
else, even out at a park. Like he is way more open to letting people touch him and like way more just he's just nicer, he's more reserved. He's not
Mhm.
so like in that defense mode
Yes.
because I don't know what it is. If it's like he feels more vulnerable out there, you'd think he would be more defensive, but for whatever reason, it's like if it's not his territory,
Mhm.
he's like almost like he respects that it's not his territory, and so he's
Yes.
like, all right, like it's all fair game here.
Mhm.
I know you're not
Yep.
near my bed, so we're cool.
Yep, you're exactly right. They have nothing to protect here, and they're on somebody else's turf. So that guard goes down, and because he's with you, then, he trusts you. So it is definitely, they are definitely different when you take them out of their actual territory, their home. A lot of pigs
Right.
are like that. A lot. Some pigs can actually go like be therapy pigs. They can go to nursing homes, they can go to schools, they can go to hospitals, they can go to parks. But if one of those people came to their home, you're not going to touch them.
Ah, see, that's interesting because I've seen, yeah, and I see when people have therapy pigs, and I always wondered, I'm like, man, like Lido, he is the farthest thing from a therapy pig. But and I wonder how those. I'm like, man, that maybe those pigs are just different, which they might still even be like a little more even tempered than Lido, but that makes sense. Anytime they're outside of their territory, it's a lot easier for them to, you know, open
Relax.
up to people.
Yes, yes, they can relax that way. And also it takes a ton of socialization while they're young. Like just taking them everywhere because my first pig, which I told you a little bit about before we got started, was I took him everywhere and he was never ever aggressive towards anybody. So you can, it takes a lot of work. It takes like constancy, being on top of things, constant correction if they were to nip at somebody. Um, it can be done, but it's way harder than a dog.
Yeah, that's definitely right. And that's where it comes back to the, pigs are like, when I like describe people, like they're like, "Oh, what's he like?" I usually say he's kind of like the size, he's got the body of a dog. Well, kind of, like a big dog, a
Yeah.
thick dog, and the personality of a cat,
Yeah.
right? So it's like you put those two things together, and that's pretty much what you get the pig. Like they
Yeah.
try to mind their own business, but
Yeah.
also a big body to like be coming at you if you mess with it. So
Yes. And then they
careful.
have like the intelligence of a 4-year-old toddler. So
Right, right.
so they know how to manipulate. They know how to, like, I think about my boys when they were 4, they could go potty themselves, they could get themselves a drink, they could get themselves a snack, they could push a stool over to the sink and wash their hands. Like that that's really smart. A child can do a lot at 4-year-old, 3 years old, 4 years old. So when you put that into a pig, wow.
Right.
It is they know they can be annoying. They know how to get what they want. And it takes a lot of patience and willpower and like being more stubborn than they are. That's why I succeed with pigs, because I am a stubborn person and I'm always going to win. So if you can be that way with your pig, they learn fast.
Yes, that is a great point. I was literally just talking to a buddy about like the morning routine, right? Like they're up at 5 a.m., no questions asked. Sometimes earlier, if they could, they'd be up earlier to eat, right? They want to get up and they want to eat.
Yeah.
And what Lido does is he will the way my door is, he can like push my door and it hits into this other door and it's just so loud. And he will do that just constantly, just over and over again, just hitting the door,
Oh,
banging it, and until I literally get up and feed him. And
yeah.
so you're right, it's like it's a war every morning. If
Mhm.
it's before 5 a.m., that's where I like lay the law. I'm like, nope,
Mm-mm.
like you're not getting food right now,
Mhm.
so prepare to battle, and that's which
Yep.
sometimes it sucks for me, but yeah, it works for the most part. It seems like for like a couple weeks, then he'll like give it a rest. He'll wake up at a better time, but once in a while he gets that bug in him and he just wants to be up and eating at 3 in the morning, and he'll be banging on that door.
Yes,
So
and they reach like different milestones and they have that like instinct that they that they want to move up in their herd. So then they start testing like around a year old. People will contact me and like, my pig just turned a year old. My pig is crazy. What is going on? All of a sudden, he's screaming for his meals. He's biting the kids. He's chasing the dog. He's doing all these things. And I'm like, if you can just hold out for a couple weeks, lay down the law, then he's going to move on. Like, this is just a milestone that he needs to kind of overcome. He just needs to be reminded that you're in charge.
right.
But they do get them, and they are so irritating because just when you think your pig is great, like, oh, my pig is so good, he's doing so good, she's doing so good, and then all of a sudden they'll get to one of these places where they have to start testing again and it feels like you have to start all over. But really, if people can just hang on, they will get over that. And how old is Lido?
He's 7.
7. Oh my gosh, he's 7. Wow. So
Yeah.
does he still do that? Like, does he still test you?
That's interesting. Because like now, like when I think back over the years, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. Because he would do the same thing. Like all of a sudden, he'd start like, yeah, really like pushing the bounds of like,
Yeah.
I'd be like, hey, we've been over this, buddy. Like this ain't how it runs around here.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd say he still does. It's always something new. That's like the interesting thing about pigs. It's like you're never a not interesting day with
Yeah.
the pigs. Like there's
Yeah.
always something new that they're like trying to test out. And yeah, like his new thing now. So it started with the door, right? And I kind of laid down the law about that. And so I would put up a fight, and not feed him at 3 in the morning when he's banging on the door,
Mm-hmm.
pushing the door to it. And now what he does is he'll go into the bathroom. If I leave the bathroom door open, he'll go into the bathroom and shut the bathroom door and then just keep rubbing his nose on the door inside the bathroom. And now he's
Yeah.
like locked in there, and he like yeah. So now he thinks it's just another way for him to get attention, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly
yeah,
right.
and even at 7 years old, he's still just testing my patience, seeing what he can get away with. So that's funny you say that. Yeah,
Yeah, usually, at least in my experience, they do calm down as they get older. They calm down. Like when they hit 3, they have like a chill out phase where they kind of settle into their place. Like, okay, I'm calm. I don't get in as much trouble. And then when they hit 5, they even calm down a little more. I've never had a pig live past 5 years old that I've had. Well, now I do, I guess. My 2 girls just turned 6 and they are like totally different than they used to be. But
yeah,
most of the time they live outside. And that does make a difference because pigs that live in the house, they they tend to be a little more sassy.
yeah,
Whereas when they live
yeah.
outside, they calm way down. Like they're not as sassy, they're not as bossy. And they they it's like I don't know how to explain it. Like they get shut down pretty easy. Like if you're squealing for breakfast, all I have to do is walk away and come in the house. You can't irritate me to the point of me
Right.
having a meltdown. So outside pigs do calm down a little bit more.
Yeah, and that's interesting because Lido is so like the first house that I lived in with him, he was like an inside pig when he was tiny. And then the second place I lived, the like landlord like didn't want him like inside. So he was pretty much like for pretty much like a year straight, almost 2 years, an outside pig, like pretty much strictly outside.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, definitely a lot different. If he ever was in the house, he was like tiptoeing around, didn't really know because again, it's not his territory, right?
Right.
So, but yeah, now yeah, you can tell he's gotten comfy to the. I mean, he goes outside. He's both an inside and outside pig, just depending on the time of year. I'm in Arizona, so it's like
Okay.
summertime, a little more inside, and then
Right.
this time of year, it's super nice out during the winters here, so it's like he's more of an outside guy. So
Yeah. That's good because it's really important for pigs to be outside. It's hard for somebody who lives in an apartment with a pig. I mean, just, depending on the circumstances, it's hard for them to get their pig outside time. So,
right. Yeah, and that's thankfully the place I'm at I have like a backyard. So it's
nice.
more like if you can imagine like a bungalow. So
Okay.
it's like a standalone, like they call it an apartment, but it's almost like a little mini house kind of.
Yeah.
And so yeah, he's got a whole backyard, he's got a little house back there. He's got his
Awesome.
whole shebang. So yeah, so he could be
Awesome.
out there through a rainstorm and he's good. And then yeah, like I said, when it's like walking time, when I like to get him out walking and stuff, I put him on his little harness and
Mm,
take him out the front. And out there there's like a courtyard and
mm.
everything. So
Oh, yeah, that's great. Well, what's
but yeah, I can't
cool?
imagine like a normal.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying I couldn't imagine like a normal like
Yeah,
apartment that you'd imagine, like no
right.
backyard, like maybe a little balcony. Like that would never work. Like
No,
you
not at
need
all.
space. Yeah.
They definitely need that time outside. Um, well, what I think is cool is, I found you on TikTok because you
Oh, okay.
have quite a social media following, you and Lido, and on TikTok and I think Instagram too, right? You're known as the Guitar Pig.
Yep. That
Yes,
is correct.
very cool page. Love your page.
Thank
Um,
you.
so will you share with us a little bit about like why you got started or how you got started with that?
Yeah, yeah. So I think yeah, it was like 2018 that I like first kind of started doing it. I don't even know where I got the idea. I think I just stumbled upon like the other Instagram guitarists,
Mm,
and it was one of those things where I'd always played guitar since I was like 10 years old, and then I just had recently at that time kind of got back into playing a lot. And yeah, I just was like, I should like post videos like of me playing guitar with Lido, like that might blow up or something, like might be interesting. I stuck with it for, like probably I don't know, 6 months to a year, and it didn't really turn into anything crazy. I was more or less just doing it for fun, right?
mhm.
Um, but my mom, of course, loved it. She was like, "Oh my god, it's so great," because and she lived out back in Minnesota at the time still, so it was like a way for her to like keep up with me, is like
Yeah.
watch my Instagram videos with Lido. Yeah, and then actually, I think it was around like 2020, like when the pandemic was going on, all that. Like before that, I had kind of stopped posting and just kind of not that I just kind of lost interest a little bit. I hadn't really seen much of like any kind of growth on there, so I was like, I'll just kind of give it a break and focus on other things in my life or whatever. But yeah, then I had a buddy that was like, "Hey man, you should keep doing that. Like, I think you could really like blow up, and I think people would love to see that." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, well, maybe I'll try doing it again." And so yeah, then I think it was probably because of the pandemic, just all that going on was like,
Mhm,
oh well, everybody's staying at home anyways. This is perfect
mhm,
time for me to just dive into this again. So yeah, I started just making a bunch of videos, started posting like anywhere from like 2 to 3 times a week, just
mhm.
me playing guitar next to Lido, and the rest is history.
Yeah. Yes, you have a huge following. So most of that happened between 2020 and now.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
Wow,
Yeah, it
that's
was yeah, you know how it is with Instagram, and I mean
yeah.
TikTok was obviously more recent. But yeah, it just takes like a couple videos that do really well, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden,
All of a
people
sudden
are
you're flying. Yes. Uh,
right.
I I have had my account since 2017, I think is when I started it. And I never really got much traction. Like it was pretty slow going, which you would think cute piglets, you would think like it would go through the roof. But
Right,
I posted one video like this summer or last fall, last summer something of a pig. I was feeding it Cheerios and it was just going crazy. I and from there I got 10,000 followers in like 2 weeks. It was like,
right. One
"Oh,
video. Yep, that's
one."
all it
And
takes.
so, you know what I do? I post that video like every couple weeks. I post it again and it goes viral every time.
Yep, that's I've heard a lot of people talk about doing that too. Yeah, that's I always tell people like to just all it takes is that one video because
Yeah.
like before I had one video blow up, I was sitting at like I had like 3,000 followers
Mhm.
for the longest time, and I was posting like the same kind of videos, just me and Lido playing guitar.
Yep.
Yeah, all it takes is that one video. The reposting does work too, though. I've done that on TikTok where I
Mhm.
reposted a video, and it actually did better than the first time I posted it. And it's like I feel bad because I'm like I don't want to like be like regurgitating content to
Right.
people, but I mean, how can you not when like you post a video again and it does even better than the first time,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I feel kind of weird about doing it too, but I figure people don't remember. You know what I mean?
right.
Like people don't remember what you post and what you don't post. So I just do what I like because I figure somebody might like it. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's I like honestly when I think about like the videos I watch, like
Yeah.
I could hardly tell you what I watched yesterday. Like I
Yeah.
might like the same video 2 days in a row if
Yeah.
that was the. So yeah, I'm definitely guilty of it too. I know I always have like this thought that people are like paying way more attention than they are
Yeah.
with social media. It's like, is anybody really paying that much attention? Like,
Yeah.
probably not, right?
I think that too. I have this thing because I do a lot of educational things about pigs. I always think I'm afraid to like say the same thing over and over. But then people
Right.
ask me that question constantly. So finally I got to the point where I was like, okay, I think I just saw recently, I took a course. I take a lot of courses on like, right now I'm taking one on Pinterest and how to use Pinterest to its fullest.
Oh,
And she said that 6% of your followers actually see what you do. 6%.
mm,
So after that, I was like, okay, I don't feel so bad posting the same things over and over again. It's probably going to be a different 6%.
right. That's and one I've definitely noticed with like TikTok's pretty good about where it really pushes the video out to like new people
Mm,
each time. Like Instagram, I've noticed a lot more like I've had like people that have been following me for years now, and it's like
yeah.
they always you post a video, they're on it, they're commenting, and those
Yeah.
people are obviously the best. You love
Yeah.
them.
Yes.
But yeah, so yeah, TikTok's really good about like really pushing it out to like a bunch of new people. So
Yeah. I've kind of given up on TikTok. TikTok is hard. It's hard to, I mean, I just started it. I did it once, like, I don't know, 2 years ago or something. And I was like, I
right,
hate this. I can't do all these platforms. So I gave up
yeah,
TikTok. And then recently I was talking to somebody and they said, you should be on TikTok. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do it again. And I get like 120 views. It takes so much time to do it. It's like, I feel like I've given up on it again. And I waste a lot of
I
time
know.
on TikTok. A lot.
Well, and it's funny because so I had my Instagram following had grown way quicker. You know, it had grown a lot, and then I was posting on TikTok, and I was same thing. I'd hardly get any traction, like hardly any views. Just I don't know what it is, the algorithm. People just
Mhm.
weren't that interested, whatever. So, but I again just kept posting it, and then yeah, I posted one video of that I had done before that kind of worked on Instagram, and it blew up on TikTok, and then
Mm.
that was and then now I actually have more followers on TikTok than I do on Instagram. So it's like I don't know,
So it's the same thing. You just have to keep doing it. Just
right.
stick with it.
But I guess for your sake, it's like you just hope. I mean, yeah, like my thought, I would love to see your stuff blow up just so people are more aware, like if they want to go get a pig, they're
Right.
like, oh, what we're seeing on TikTok, I should find that lady that does the pig info, and
Yes.
they can find you, so
Yes. And that's always my goal. I want to support pig families. I say, like, my catchphrase is, I want to give you the tools to care for your pig with confidence, because pigs are hard. They're a really hard bet. So if you have somebody that can help you, and you can be successful, then you don't have to give up your pig. You don't have to get rid of it. You don't have to rehome it. You don't have to drop it off at a sanctuary or a rescue that's already full and can't afford another pig. So this way, and maybe educate people before they get one.
right. And that's yeah, nothing gets me more than like I just can't imagine. Like I've been with Lido now for 7 years. He'll be 8 in May. Um, had him since he was 9 weeks old. So it's like, I mean, I don't know, just everything in my life from that point on has kind of been based around like Lido, not
Mhm.
based around him, but
I get
a
it.
lot of the decisions I make when it comes to like moving, because we traveled the country. Like I moved from Arizona to California, then out to Florida, and then back to Arizona, all with Lido like riding in my passenger seat. So I mean, that was like one of the hardest things about having him.
Mhm.
And I think that's where a lot of other pig owners would have probably been like, well, we're moving. And I think that happens a lot when they
It
move. They
does.
go, well, can't take the pig with us because we're moving.
Yep.
Where for me, I was like, I don't know, man. That's like, hey, I signed up for this, like I can't do that to my boy. Like, just gonna leave him
Yes.
hanging. Like, let's, hop in the passenger seat, buddy. We're rolling.
Yep.
And
That's
it
something.
is hard.
I'm sorry. There's a delay and I keep cutting you off.
Oh,
I'm
is there?
sorry.
Oh, you're good. On my end, it doesn't even sound like you are, so I didn't
Okay.
even notice.
Okay. Sorry about that. I was just gonna say, when you sent me your bio, that is one thing I loved, that you said that you've taken your pig everywhere you've ever moved. And I love that. It actually made me like love you. I'm like,
Oh,
because like you said, it happens so much. Now, for me, giving up my pig is not an option. Not an
right.
option. I mean,
Same.
even if something like a tragedy happened in my family, my pigs would be my constant. Like, I love them. They're my family members. I wake up in the morning and I'm excited to go see them. I'm excited to go feed them. And I can't imagine just giving up on them because it wasn't convenient.
Right. Yeah, and again, it sucks because you see it a lot, where they end up at rescues,
Yeah.
and it's just sad, so but again, I think that comes down to the not doing enough research ahead of time,
Yeah.
because not all people are gonna run it. Because again, I didn't do enough research in the beginning. Like, honestly, if I could go back in time, now, of course, I'm ride or die with Lido, right? But
Yeah.
going back in time, like, I probably would have told myself, like, "Hey, man, maybe this isn't, like, the best time to get a pig," right? Like I said, I was, like, early 20s, not really sure what I was doing, bought them for $100, completely emotional, decision, so, yeah, I definitely probably would have said, "Maybe not a good idea," but that being said, when it came time to move around, I was of the opinion of like, well, yeah, like it's not an option. We're a package deal. Like, I'm gonna find out a way to make this work. And if he can't be there, I'm not going to be there. Right. But not all people have that mindset.
Right. Right. They don't. And things come up and things are out of our control. And I get that. There are times when people have no other option. I do get that, things out of their control. But for the most part, if more people had this frame of mind to where, you know, I said yes to bringing a pig home, and I am not going to break that promise. I'm going to love you. And mostly because like rehoming a pig is hard. They're very emotional creatures and they get very attached to their family, to their herd. So when you rehome them, I mean, there have been pigs who've died of a broken heart because they were abandoned in their mind. It doesn't matter, we can't communicate with them the reason, so they just feel abandoned, and that's really hard. It's hard. I've had to rehabilitate a couple pigs, that more than a couple, a lot of pigs that were kind of given up, and some were for really great reasons and other ones were just for not so great. But it is hard on the pig. It really is. It's so sad. Did you know that pigs cry?
Yeah, I did. I know. It's like you said, they get like heartbroken, and
Mhm.
it's like, man, especially in like when you're talking about like with for me, for example, with Lido, like I got him when he was 9 weeks old. I mean, I'm all that pig knows. Like,
Yes.
so if at say like 3 years old, when he's bigger and closer to like probably more full grown, which is when a lot of people also throw in the towel, is once they see like his full
Yes.
size, they're like,
Mhm.
this is way I didn't sign up for this.
Mhm.
Like, by that point, like, I mean, that's your child, right? Like, at least in my eyes, like, that's
Yeah.
that's all that pig knows is you. So it's the way people are just so quick to give them up where, like, would you do the same thing with a dog? Like, if you raise it from being a puppy, like, most people wouldn't, right? They'd just take
Right.
it with them. So,
Right. Or your
yeah, it is sad.
kid.
I don't like thinking about pigs crying. That's
All right, we're
sad.
gonna change the subject. We'll change the subject. We don't
Yeah.
need a downer here. Um, so you have had your pig for, I think you said 6 years, right?
Yeah, right, yeah, so, yeah, since 2015, so he was
Okay.
9 weeks old. He'll be
All
8 in
right.
May, so yeah.
So what do you think that the biggest challenge is having a pet pig? I mean, I'm trying to think. I have talked to a lot of people on the show. I'm trying to think if I talked to anybody who's had a pig as long as you. 6 years is a long time, especially for having a pet pig. It's kind of a new thing. In the last couple years, it's a huge trend. So most people that I talk to, their pig is 2 years old, their pig might be 3 years old. Your pig is 6. So you have a really interesting perspective as to what those challenges are.
Right. Yeah, well, it would definitely come back to that travel thing. That would be
Mm.
my number 1, like, if you're gonna have a pig, like, first off, probably best case scenario would to be, like, own a house, like that. Because that's one thing I've done is I've owned a pig and I've been a renter. Like, I've rented. I'm 26, I haven't bought a house yet. Would love to, that'd be great for Lido, but I've been moving around. I moved out to, like I said, California, then over to Florida, then back to Arizona. So, yeah, biggest challenge with him is traveling. So
Mm.
it is not easy to move pigs. It's not easy to get. Big thing was getting him as a ESA, right? I did that whole thing where I made him an emotional support animal because it would allow me to. It opened up my options for renting,
Right.
right? Because a lot of rental places, they're just like, haha, a pig. Like, no, like, you're not gonna have a pig in here, dude. Like, come on.
Mhm.
Like, maybe a small dog or a cat, right? So, yeah, to be able to get around those hurdles of like, all right, I got a pig. I need to get them to this place. Even when I came and like saw the place I'm at now, they wanted to meet Lido before they would like approve them. And even that's like, all right, we gotta load him in the car,
Oh
drive him
yeah.
down. He needs to be cool. He needs to like
Yeah.
not act up and
Be
act
nice.
crazy. Right, exactly. Like, please be cool. Don't do anything crazy that's gonna make him think we
Mhm.
shouldn't have the pig here. So yeah, that was by far the biggest challenge. So it's like I would definitely say if you're not like set on where you are and you plan on moving more and you're gonna be traveling a lot, would not recommend getting a pig.
Mm,
And that's what, again, I think why a lot of people give them up is because they don't understand like how much of a hassle it is to move even one single pig. You know, when
yes.
they're a little baby, of course, that's different because you can
Mhm,
pick them up in your hands,
mhm.
right? But it got to a point with Lido where I had to literally like deadlift him, right? Like I had to get up behind him because I didn't have like a ramp or anything. Which, looking back, get a ramp if you're gonna ever load a pig into a car. Like, wow,
Yes.
total lifesaver. But yeah, I used to get up, behind him, and you got to like get your hands like up underneath his legs, and you kind of like
Mhm,
pull him to your body, and then you're pretty much like I said, you're like deadlifting, like
mhm.
squatting him. So yeah, it's and then you got to do that every time that you have to stop on a road trip to let him out to pee,
Yeah.
and yeah, so that by far traveling would have been the biggest challenge. But hey, we made it.
Yeah.
We're here. So
That's a huge challenge, especially because pigs don't like new things, right? They like their little box. They like to stay in that box. They don't like anything outside of it makes them uncomfortable. So when you move, it can cause your pig to like act weird, right? They're
right,
afraid, like they're like, where am I? Where am I? And am I safe here? And this floor isn't the same floor. And they can have potty accidents, and it's a big deal. So that was great advice. If you are planning on moving in the next year, just wait. Just wait to get your pig.
right,
So many things in people's lives change, right? I mean, you got him 21, 22 years old. you know, a lot is going to change. And I have a lot of people who come to me and they have like an 11-year-old little girl, they have a 12-year-old little boy, and they want to get a pig for their kid. And I always make sure they bring their child here so that I can talk to them. And I'm like, remember, your life is going to change a lot in the next 10 years. Can you take your pig with you? You're going to go to college. Um, are your parents okay with your pig staying there? Or what are you going to do? Like, you need to think about these things, how your life is going to change. Are you going to be able to take your pig? And if you don't want to, now as a 12-year-old, you don't want to take your pig with you, maybe a pig is not for you.
right. Yeah, because they always talk about too how the pigs, and I don't know how because I always had him, I've been most, I mean, he's been around my family a lot, of course, but like mostly it's just me and Lido, right? Like
Mhm.
it's all of our interactions have been me traveling with him. I've had like a few significant others that have got to know him for a while and stuff like that. But I'm just curious, like, because they say pigs really choose one person, right?
Mm,
I don't know if that's how that works in like a family environment, but yeah,
mm,
like say you're the little girl or little boy, 11, 12 years old, you get the pig, and the pig decides like you're their person. Um, right, like you go to college, and then we go back to like you're kind of like breaking the pig's heart, and
yeah.
that's and yeah, and you want to make sure that the parents are going to be cool watching them because
Yes.
yeah,
It just brings up a whole lot of things to think about. Now, that's a great challenge. No one's ever said that before. So let's go from that challenges to your favorite part. What is your favorite part about having a pet pig?
oof, yeah, okay. I think again, so it would go back to all the moments that, this sounds corny, but like all the moments that nobody sees, right? Like the stuff that just happens on a daily basis that it's like, oh, buddy, like just the cute little things he does that, of course nobody sees. The way he like wants to come up and like snuggle,
Mm,
the way he'll cuddle, the way, he'll just, I'll be sitting in one room and all of a sudden I can hear like, ruckus happening in the other room. And I go and look out there and Lido's just out in the backyard playing around with a blanket, just having a fun time, getting the zoomies, right? And then besides that, I guess it would be like anytime you like tell somebody that you have a pig, it's like just the way people get so excited about it is like, I don't know, it's kind of, it's fun. It's nice. Like when you say, oh my God, you have a pig, like
mm.
tell me everything, and they all get excited to see pictures of them. And
Yep.
so that
Hmm.
part's pretty cool.
Hmm. Yeah. I like both those things too. Those are great. There's so many awesome things about having a pig. And it makes you pretty popular with other I'm really popular with little kids. Little kids love
Right.
me.
Yep.
They want to come to my house. They want to sit with piglets. So that is cool. I love that. And I love something that I love is I love being able to make people's dreams come true. Because like you said, you wanted a pig your whole life. I wanted a pig my whole life. And so I don't know how many people come here and they sit on the floor in my piglet area and a piglet climbs in their lap and they just start bawling. And
Oh,
it's,
really?
yeah, it's like they've had this all their life. They've wanted to just have a pig or hold a pig. And here they are. They've waited so long. And it's, it's so cool for me to be able to see. And it's so much fun. I've actually have a lot of little girls who cry too, because it's like they have all these emotions and they're so excited about it. It's so
Right.
sweet getting to make people's dreams come true. And they're just holding my pig, you know?
Yeah, and that's yeah, that would definitely be an amazing feeling, I'm sure, putting pigs in people's hands, for the first time, because
Yeah.
that was a great feeling. I don't think I cried when I got Lido, but it was definitely like a euphoric feeling of like,
Yeah.
like, man, like this is like I've been wanting to do this my whole life, and like here I am doing it.
Yep. Yeah. So you already did give a little bit of advice, but could you think of if someone is listening and they really want to get a pig and you had the opportunity to just give them one piece of advice, what would that be?
Mm, good question. Yeah, I think it would go back to the research thing, right? Like you should definitely maybe it'd be where you're getting your pig from. Like, really research where you're getting your pig from. Because if you just research enough into the place you're getting the pig from and it's a reputable place, they're going to do the rest. Like,
Mm.
they're going to vet you, they're going to make sure you understand what you're getting into. And they'll be asking you the questions. So that, because that's the thing, like when I was getting a pig, I didn't even know what questions to ask.
Right.
I was just looking like, what does a pig eat?
Hmm.
Uh, how big is this pig going to get? And at the time, of course, there was still that whole teacup pig thing going around.
Right.
And I kind of knew he wasn't going to be tiny forever, and I had a feeling because I had heard from some people. But um, yeah, I think you just find the right, either rescue or the right breeder, like
Hmm.
yourself. Like, and if you find the right one of those, like they'll be asking you questions. They'll be asking you like, "What are you doing with your life right now?" Like, "Are you really in a good spot to have a pig?"
Hmm.
Um, yeah, because that's what I feel like is the most important. I wish somebody would have done that with me. Because again, I think if somebody vetted me when I first got Lido, I think they would have said, "Yeah, probably not a good idea." Like you're a college kid, you're gonna have them living in a college house with other college kids. Like this seems like a fun idea at the time, but
Yeah.
probably not
Not
the best.
ideal. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's I think the biggest thing advice would just be, yeah, find don't do what I did. Don't go on Craigslist and buy a pig for $100, and show up to somebody's house and find them in a garage. And, that's
And feed them
definitely not the way to
macaroni and
do it.
cheese. That is
And feed
not.
them macaroni and cheese out of a Ziploc bag. Yeah. That's not, well, I mean, the pig might like that, but yeah,
Yeah. The
don't
pig
do
would
that.
love it. Yes.
Right. Yep.
Well, that is great advice. It is probably like from most of the people I've talked to, it's the number one piece of advice that they would give. Do your research. Do not, and they all say the same thing. Don't do what I did and run out and just get a pig. Actually, do your
Right.
research. You're just so much more likely to be successful because, as we've said many times, pigs are not an easy pet and they're not a dog. They need, they need a lot emotionally. They need a lot. And you actually really got lucky with your pig because he's just a pig. He's not bad. He's not destructive. He's not
Right.
aggressive. You've done a great job with him.
Thank you.
Even not really, at least not feeling like you knew what you were doing. You did a great job because he's a great pig.
Yeah, he is. I know. And that's, who knows? Maybe I got lucky. Or again, at the end of the day, maybe it's just the fact that I never left him, right? Like I just stuck with it, stuck by
Yep.
his side. I mean, again, he's 7 years old now, so it's like we've been, pretty much hooked at the hip,
Yeah.
since he was a little baby. So I don't know. Could be luck too, though. I don't know.
Maybe a little, but really so much of it comes down to training and being the leader. It's so important to be a leader with a pig. Um, Without that, then they feel like they have to step up and fill that position. And a pig is a good leader, but they're not a kind leader.
Right. Yeah.
But anyways, thank you so much, Matt, for being here. And I'm sure that everybody is going to want to follow you on TikTok and Instagram at the Guitar Pig. It's a great account. It's it's awesome. It's very unique. It's such a cool. I like your account. And just the fact that your pig is right there and it's like we get to watch his reaction. It's just so cute. He's always doing something different. I love it. And I appreciate other pig accounts who don't perpetuate myths, especially the size thing. That's really
Right.
important. So thanks again for being here. And maybe in the future we can do it again sometime.
Yeah, I'd love that. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.